5, 4, 3.
Coming to you from the Poorly Painted Studios in Cumming, Georgia, this is the Chuck and Zee Show. And now, here's Chuck and Zee.
What up, everybody? Welcome to the Chuck and Zee Show. Of course, I'm Chuck.
I'm Zee.
And with us, as always, is Producer Chaos.
How are you doing?
So you just accepted it.
I did. This time I was like, okay, chaos.
It's all right. It's a cool one. It is cool. It's a term of endearment at this
Thank
point.
you.
And Ellie's with us, too. Just looking all stressed out.
Sweet little
She's always stressed out.
Disinterested.
If she's not being petted, then she's like,
petted.
Petted. Look at her. As soon as you move your hand, she's,
I know.
Oh. Are you talking about? Yeah, I'm talking about you.
She's looking at you.
All right, Z.
All right. So today is September 11th.
Yeah.
And 22 years ago, we had a big tragedy in the United States. So just wanted to take a minute to, think about that and think about all of the lives that were lost, close to 3,000 lives in New York. And do you guys remember like where you were when you heard about the 9/11 tragedy?
Where were you, Chuck?
Well, yeah, both towers. I was on a sales call. I was actually making a cold call. So I was on the phone and I'm pitching the guy and he goes, man, a plane just hit one of the Twin Towers. And I was like, wow, really? And he's like, yeah, that's crazy. And so they kind of cut it on in the office and it was in the background. I got off that call and I was like 4 or 5 calls later on another call. And the guy that I was talking to was like, another plane just hit the Twin Towers. And then he just hung up.
No.
And pretty much that was into it for the day. I mean, we all kind of stood around in the little break room and watched the TV. And even though I was in Greenville, South Carolina at this time, we all felt like we should go home. I mean, not because anybody was like, oh, this is reason to get out of work. No, everybody was like, I kind of want to go home. Like it felt bad. It felt really bad. And it's so weird just to watch a symbol, something that's been a representative of your society for at least your time, go down like that. It really did. It's weird to think that though it happened in New York, it really did hit the whole country.
Yeah, it did.
Where were you at, Z?
I just got into work. I was in Salt Lake City, Utah at the time, working at a company called PageNet. And we actually, the pager company, right? That's when pagers were really in vogue and kind of the new technology. And that was a two-way pager. And I was a tech support agent at the time. But I just got into work and went to the break room. And on the TV, like the first attack was there. And you could see like the aftermath of that. And I was in shock and disbelief. Like I just didn't even know what I was looking at. I was 19 at the time. So that was, really young and just, it was hard. But I remember the second plane hit the second tower and just a bunch of people crying and just, it was pretty sad. And I think we all went home too, and I remember days later getting calls from like people just trying to reach their loved ones and just not knowing what's going on and like not having that. And a lot of like our PageNet was a part of everything, part of, hospitals with doctors and a part of just firefighters and police. So we had a lot of those kind of calls coming in. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. I'll never forget that. And then shortly after that, I moved to Huntsville, Alabama, where I took a job at my first stint into staffing. And what was kind of crazy about that experience was they just acquired a new client that required a lot of workers because it was a company that made flags.
Oh wow.
And they had a ton of orders for like American flags. So we put hundreds of people to work in that factory making flags, and it kind of saved the branch, like the company that I worked for, that particular branch, because obviously after such a tragic event, and then it affected, the airline industry, it affected a lot of different industries, and a lot of companies were like going down because of that. But it actually helped, which is sad in a way, right? You see a lot of these tragedies that happen, and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. But in that case, something spawned out of that, and that was patriotism, the America coming together as a united front, and I felt like everybody was together at that time, which is very, very different from these days.
Yeah, I wish it would have lasted.
What about you, Sharon?
I had little children at the time. One was in first grade or kindergarten, and one was home with me. So I remember turning on the time it was Regis and Kelly on ABC at 9:00 and seeing the first tower burning. I remember thinking, how are they going to put that out? Like, it's so high up in the air. And then I watched the second plane hit, and it just freaked me out. And my ex-husband was working at Coca-Cola in downtown Atlanta. And then all of a sudden there was just this fear of, well, where else are they going to go in these big iconic places? And I went to pick up my daughter from elementary school. I just wanted her close to me, and no one questioned anything when I went in there. I just said, I just want my children with me. And yeah, it was just horrible, horrible, horrible.
Yeah.
Really couldn't believe it. And still, I've seen so many images over and over, and I still don't believe it.
It's interesting that you said watching it on TV, because I go down YouTube rabbit holes, and some of the most fascinating TV in a horrific way, like a morbid way, is watching the replays of the live broadcast. Not necessarily just the highlights and the clips, but the real time of broadcasters and people seeing this happen. Right, there's one, I think it's might be CBS, but they're talking about Howard Hughes, and the next thing you know, get clips.
That was NBC.
Was it NBC?
It was Matt Lauer
yes, it
interviewing
was.
The author. Yeah.
Yep. And then it cuts to the tower on fire.
Yeah.
And for the next however long, they're just speculating about what happened, and then the next one hits, and when the second one hits on NBC, you actually see it live happen. Right, you can see the plane coming in.
Yes.
And then like 20 minutes later, they're just now catching on that there was a plane in the image, because they didn't even realize it. For us, you think of like planes, buildings, all that. They didn't know what was going on.
They said it was an explosion. It was just an explosion.
There were even firefighters recorded saying, I think there's bombs in the building or something like that. It's one of those just insane moments in history. And it is funny because you said some good things came out of that, and they did for a very short, brief period of time, as far as how the United States kind of came together. There's so many flags. I mean, hence the reason that company was doing so well. Everybody was buying flags. It didn't matter your religion, your race, your creed, your orientation. No one cared. It was, we're Americans, we got attacked. And it always reminds me of that old Ronald Reagan thing, about if the aliens landed, how quickly would we all band together as a world? Well, we saw an example of that in the United States. And, but unfortunately, I think some rough things came out of it too. One of them being the Patriot Act, which I'm playing with this new political thought process where you just, whatever the opposite of what is said or named is what it is, right? Like the Patriot Act was a very unpatriotic act. In the way that it stripped away certain privacy rights, and things like no-knock warrants came out of that, and a bunch of other things. Eavesdropping, not needing a warrant to do it, all in under the guise of protecting us.
Yeah.
And then they've done it again and again. They did it with the Obamacare, You know, the Affordable Care Act.
Unaffordable.
But I mean, we were in staffing when that came out, right? When the Affordable Care Act, 2012, and we were on the ground in staffing, like branch managers, salespeople, dealing with the people that were coming in every day, and we deal with a lot of people from their employment. I mean, this is literally what I'm dealing with these people about, and they just kept coming in, going, "Hey, we're here to get the free health care. We're here to get the free health care." And we were like, "How do we?" Because now they're mad at us because we're having to explain to them that this isn't free. It's a 9% out of your check, and it's mandatory. And you know, it was a real blow to those folks. I mean, some of the folks who are making lower wages,
like $10 an hour, $12 an hour, they couldn't afford 9%.
That's why they didn't have health care to begin with, is because they couldn't afford it, and now they're required to pay 9% into the system. And it was in Affordable Care Act. So the words affordable. So it's not affordable. I just demonstrated that it wasn't affordable for most people. It wasn't care. You weren't getting health care. You're getting insurance, right? So you get insurance to go get health care, and it wasn't an act. An act is where they come out and they change laws, but they couldn't because it was unconstitutional. So it's a tax. It's not an act. So just the exact opposite of what they say. And I'm starting to, all right, I'm going to get off my soapbox. But again, sorry, I hate to have hijacked the 9/11 part, but obviously it was a horrific tragedy in this country's history. I think it's left a scar, and I think it's still a scar that we're dealing with to this day, in my opinion.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. But yeah, so we just wanted to take a little time to remember that. Always remember. And we can move on to...
You want something happier?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the dragon and the horny Harley honkers.
I always get it right because I want to put Harley before horny for some reason.
Do you? I think they're horny before Harley.
Yeah, I think so. They're horny for Harleys.
It's cute because on all of their equipment and things, you know, that they're riding, they have like their name, you know, on their bikes and things. It's kind of funny.
Well, in case you guys haven't seen it yet, we just released our last episode. It was a little bit different type of an episode where we went riding with another moto couple, the horny Harley honkers.
Yeah.
Better known as
Ronnie and Brianna.
Yeah.
That was really fun. They we've been following them for a little while on Instagram, and they reached out to us, and they were in town. They went up to Two Wheels of Suches to camp out a couple of weekends ago. And since we live like an hour away, not even, to Two Wheels, they asked us if we wanted to ride, and then we decided to do an impromptu podcast because it's always fun to meet people and learn about them and talk about like why they ride and things like that. So that was a really fun evening.
She's got a beautiful bike.
Oh my gosh, that Heritage Softail and that Tiffany blue and white.
It's so pretty. And it's chromed out too, so it looks sharp.
Yeah, and his Street Glide is pretty sweet too.
Nice, yeah.
Yep. They're adding a Road Glide eventually to the stable.
Once you get on it, it's just over. It really is.
What was cool though about the ride, a couple different things. One is that it was my second time riding Wolfpen Gap. I haven't done it since I started riding, and I was really intimidated the first time I completed it. I was like, this is exhausting. Like, how many times do I have to, switch gears? But this time it's been like 5 years, or at least 5 or 6 years. And I was like, this is the most fun little trip. And it's not far from where we are. So it just felt like not like a huge venture to go up to North Carolina, to go on Tail of the Dragon. But I felt like I very accomplished at the end of it, and some beautiful scenery overlooks that you can stop and see. So I loved that. But also setting up to do a remote interview was really interesting. And Chuck, you had it down to a T. Everything that we needed to do, I turned around and it was almost all set up, and I was just like the backup. It was great. So thanks.
Almost.
It was so good. You did a great job.
Yeah, I still struggle with the sound engineering part. And obviously it's been a consistent issue with the podcast since we started. I know. For some reason, since I started this new setup, I've had a struggle with just getting the audio just right. And it doesn't sound bad. It's very listenable, but I literally had to sync because the mics that we were holding weren't working properly, of course. So I literally had to sync 5 camera audio files together to get it to where you could hear what we were saying.
Oh my gosh.
I will say though, the editing that you did was perfect because again, you had to have all these different camera files lining up and making it a very dynamic podcast where it really was very static for us. That takes a skill. So I admired it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let
and
you know.
I don't use, so there's a gonna get tech geeky here.
All right, let's do it.
There's a tool within Final Cut that you can, it's called a multi-camera. So you can say, for instance, you were filming a wedding with 7 or 8 different cameras. You can time sync them. So basically you make sure the clocks are set in them. And then you can load all of those files into Final Cut Pro under a multicam setting, and it will automatically sync the files up. And then as you're going through, you just select which one you want to be visible at that time.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it really makes it very easy, but I don't use that for these because it doesn't work so well when you have motorcycle audio. It for some reason it can't pick. So like what it does is it listens to the voice and the time coding, and then it tries to match based on the voice sync, right? But with motorcycle audio, it gets, there's so many revs and ups, like it's constantly looking for that sync point. So it'll place the videos in different spots, and so I have to do it manually.
But you know, there were hours of clips to choose from as well that
Oh,
you
yeah.
edited all together. So
I
I just thought
know.
it looked great.
I typically run, if anybody's curious,
I'm curious.
I typically run 3 GoPro Max 360s, 2 GoPro Minis, and then usually another 10 on my chin. Every now and then I'll put one more on the bike, and then I'll also run the drone.
Wow.
It's a lot. So think about it. 1 hour of footage is, across 6 cameras.
Yeah.
Plus their cameras
Plus their cameras. Yeah.
because they had their great shots. Like
Yeah.
asking us to ride close. And I was just like, what, you want me to pass you? Okay. And then he went back around and he was like, slow down.
He's
I was like,
right there.
bye. Anyway, it was really
But
fun.
it was a lot of fun. I obviously, go ahead. I think they should start a drinking game that every time we mention Wolfpen Gap,
That they take a
that
shot.
take
or
a
something.
shot.
I know.
They'll be destroyed after 10 minutes. But
Yeah. It actually, so riding Wolfpen Gap on Saturday and then getting out to the tail of the dragon on Sunday.
First time with your new bikes, right?
Yeah.
with the new bikes,
It was
yeah.
the first time with the new bikes. The last time was in October of last year. We went moto
Yeah.
camping,
Yeah.
but or when we went up there for our overnight, and I will say that it's not as fun as Wolfpen Gap. I'm just gonna put it down there. I'm just gonna put it out there. I felt
Uh-oh.
not nervous, but it's just so tiring. Like you can't get into a good flow on the tail. Not that there was a ton of traffic because we actually went when it was pretty light traffic. I mean, there was basically no one at Dill's Gap when we went there. It was like
Yeah.
maybe a few bikes.
Really?
Yeah, because we went early in the morning.
Oh, I was going to say it's a nice weekend. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we-
going early, I imagine.
We made sure to go early so we're not running into all of all the sport bikes who want to go fast and know that route pretty well, and cars and trucks and all that kind of stuff. But it just, my hands hurt.
But it didn't at Wolfpen?
No. And I think what Wolfpen has is it does have a lot of technical turns, a lot of switchbacks, or a couple of switchbacks or whatever, but it does have a break in some of the road that gives you an opportunity to just kind of go speed up and go fast a little bit and get a flow and then a rhythm with the bike. And it kind of just feels better. And maybe it's because it's right here and we go all the time. But even coming back, going down the dragon and then coming back to Dill's Gap, it was just like, all right, I'm good.
What did you think, Chuck?
Yeah, kind of the same. I mean, it's a lot of fun. The Dragon's a lot of fun to ride, but it's once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Whereas I get an itch to go ride Wolfpen. Like
Every weekend.
yeah.
It's like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Wolfpen.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that while you can get some speed on the Dragon, there are a few little spots where you can kind of get into it. It really is more of an endurance test, and I always say that about it whenever, especially near the end of it, it just gets to be like, got it, got it. Whereas Wolfpen, you do get to get some speed and then dive into corners at speed a little bit. And
Yeah.
At one point, we were riding on Wolfpen, and I was toward the back, and I'm riding along, and I see you all right next to me, but going in the opposite
I know, right?
with like a couple trees in between us.
Yeah.
How in the world?
It's one of those
I mean,
switchbacks.
it was like, what, first gear? Okay, you know, it was like that. But it was so much fun though, because I felt like I didn't feel tired. I did feel like my skills were improving. Like I could prove that I could handle this kind of road.
Yeah.
that's actually one of my favorite sections of Wolfpen is once you get into the hairpin U-turns. Because when you come out of them, boy, you're. I usually go down to second. I don't go all the way to first, but you can just bog into that bike as you're coming out of it to get some speed as you get ready to.
It's like an incline or
Oh
something.
yeah,
you know?
the bike. God, I love it.
I know you kill Wolfpen all the time. I'm like, I can't keep up with you. I try, but then there's some spots where you're just like gone, and I'm like, damn it, I was in too low of a gear. I'm just too in my head about this turn, and then he's gone, and then I'm like trying to catch up to him.
But there are times you're standing up on your bike, and it does feel like you are living your best life.
I'm like, how are you doing this? Going 60 around a turn, standing up, like
It actually I actually feel like it's not that hard to do. I feel like it's very simple. If you think about like the way cops lean the bike, right? Cops stay very upright and lean the bike versus their bodies, right? Whereas racers tuck their bodies in and lean in with the bike, right?
yeah,
So I'm kind of doing both of those things. When I'm standing on the bike, I'm leaning my body a little bit, which I don't have to lean in as much because of the leverage. I'm so tall, the weight's greater on the side, and I'm pushing the bike down at the same time. So it's almost like I'm standing on a sideways lever a little bit. And that, I don't know why, but that feels like it gives me like a razor's edge control of the wheel. I don't know. I just feel like something between my feet and my hands when I'm standing, I can just feel like the edge of the wheel a little bit. Whereas I can feel it great when my ass is on the seat.
yeah.
But it's not there's just something about I feel like I can just
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, true. And I think the other thing for me is I need a little bit more clearance.
You do. I think that's the only reason you're not staying with me right now is because your bike is scraping.
Yeah, I'm scraping a lot, guys. I'm like every freaking turn.
No.
And I can't lean as much as I did with the old road glide, so I definitely need a couple of inches.
So what we're gonna do? That's what she said.
Oh, God dang it. I almost said it, and I was like, don't, Sharon, just don't.
Anyway,
On the bike. On the bike.
Thank you. You need a couple inches on the bike?
On the
Yeah.
bike.
Okay.
well,
Nice. Okay, but that's still...
it's
fine.
all
It's
right,
fine.
get your girl. No, so
It's fine.
It's fine.
but no, so what I'm gonna do to solve that is we're gonna put a Track Dynamics swing arm on it, and I'm gonna put it in the top slot. So
Yeah.
you'll probably be at a 13 lift. That should give you enough clearance.
That's what the other road glide was,
Yeah.
and that's probably what I need because I want to lean a little bit more. And even though I want to be flat-footed, I will take being nearly flat-footed with having clearance over not having clearance because it's not as fun.
Your bike right now, where it's sitting, is the easiest lifting bike.
Right?
Every time I go to move your bike for whatever reason, like I moved it earlier to take some pictures, and as I literally just nudge it with my hip, and it just stands up. When I use my hands, I almost throw it over.
Yeah.
Like it's so light, and I think it's because it's lower,
Yeah.
and we lightened it so much, and those wheels just
Right.
stand straight up.
Yeah.
Mine's still heavy for you, but it's so
It's
much
so heavy.
It's so much lighter than my other bike, though.
It's so crazy because I was able to lift your other bike.
This one's taller.
Yeah.
The weight's higher in the center of the bike.
Yeah. So I can't even. Sharon, I was struggling.
No, really?
I was sweating. I was like, I'll never be able to ride your bike.
So the taller the bike, the different leverage.
Dis-
The
weight
geometry
distribution.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah, like physics,
Mm-hmm.
math.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out.
Yeah. So it has 8.5 inches of clearance from the frame to the ground. whereas stock is like 5.25. So it's got some lean, and I put a +2 in the front,
Yeah.
and I've got a 14 in the back in the top slot, so it's technically a 15.
I stopped like super weightlifting, right? So that I, so that I wouldn't have to like look super like
Buffy.
buff.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna start again because I'm determined to lift your bike. I'll probably just do a ton of push-ups and see how that
No, squats.
squats.
You need squats.
But
Need
it's my arms. It's not my legs.
I don't lift it when I lift my bike, my arms are guiding. My
Right.
leg is lifting.
Yeah, so probably some squats.
Squats.
Where do you? So I've lifted bikes before. So where do you put your kind of back? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you do it? How is it different?
So when I lift my bike currently, I throw my leg across, which when I throw my leg across, it doesn't touch, right? But I take the inside of my hip and I put it right up against the frame, and I roll my leg up, and it lifts the bike up, and then
What?
So yeah,
and then I
squats.
just
I'm thinking the side from the side lifting.
if I don't do it with my arms at all. My arms are just making sure it stands up. Once I've got it off the stand, then the arms are just guiding it into position.
Listen, I don't want to tell you what to do because this is your show, but I will say that we should demonstrate how you do this. Because it's different from what I have done in the past. When I've tipped my bike, I've gotten obviously off the bike all the way, and then I go to the side where it's tipped, and then I
Right.
use my back and my leg muscles to lift it up.
Well, like your bike. So when I lift your bike, because it squats.
Oh yeah, you lifted my bike. You're right.
When it's short with your bike, it's different because hers, I kind of have to make sure I guide it with the arms because, like I said, it's so light up top, it'll just go over. Whereas yours has that heft. So yours, when I stand yours up, I can stand on either side of your seat. So really, all I do is sit down and just sit my body up. So my body's real stiff when I lift yours. I just lean up because it's.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't do that.
But yeah.
Oh, is that interesting? See, you know what that was, right? Interesting. In other words, I'm done with the lifting bike talk.
Yeah, because we were talking about the teledragon.
So I know I did get us off on
No,
that
we're
tangent
good.
a little bit.
Way to go, Sharon.
We're all good.
Is that chaos? Is that I'm living
That's
up to
the
my
chaos.
name?
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly. Just fucking shit up. No.
You can't take her anywhere.
But what I was gonna say was, from when we did the teledragon, we actually went on the Moonshiner 28,
Oh yeah, first time.
which is the first time that we've done that. So it's that road that's like on the side of Deal's Gap. You know where
Yes.
Deal's Gap is?
Yes.
It's right on the side. So you just, if you're coming back, like you're going to Robbinsville
Yeah.
from Deal's Gap, you just make that left on that side road and just go. Girl, that road is like my favorite road to ride now.
What? No way.
Yeah. It has so many nice long sweeping turns, switchbacks, some hairpins, and it goes for 108 or 103 miles
Oh my.
into South Carolina. And it's just this the whole time. And there was like maybe one car that we got behind that was annoying. We passed them, but it was pretty much wide
Great.
open.
Yeah, it's a great road.
And
We're going to go back. So I'm actually editing together the Dragon right now because we're going to do another episode of favorite roads, and I'm going to do one on the Dragon.
yeah.
But we're going to go back just so that I can film all of that road.
It's a little technical. It can get a little technical at times, but it's nothing like the Dragon. It's just very nice. And then it kind of reminds me of Cherahalla in a way.
A little bit, yeah.
Not exactly, but just like how open, and you're riding alongside the river the whole time. So I was talking to Shauna, who was on our podcast a couple of days ago, and she was like, not Shauna, January, another one of our friends.
Yeah.
And she was saying that when she rides that 28, she was like, she pretends like she's a moonshiner, like us, like
Someone's coming after her.
yeah, like she's
Jesse Duke.
yeah, like she's like she has a bunch of moonshine and she's like trying to get it out. I thought that was so cute.
What is it? Talladega Nights. There's 100 pounds of Colombian Bam Bam.
Yeah. And a cougar.
And a cougar. I think you put those two together, but yeah, for sure. The cougar. I don't think the cougar was in the car that.
Was it in the car that time?
It was in the car.
I like the idea of it not being as popular or as crowded as Tail of the Dragon, but just as, like that actually might add to how much more fun it is.
Yeah,
It does. It does 100%.
and we got hogged while we were. What was it? The 2-wheel in.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, but this lady walked up to me and she handed us these pigs, and she's like, "Y'all just been hogged."
She's like,
And I was like, "What? What?"
so it says it on the hog. It says that you've been hogged, and then you can find out more. There's like a traveling group and a Facebook group for them. But basically, she was like, I only give these to bikes that I like.
Oh,
I know. It was so sweet.
Oh, wow.
It made it in the
Little-
studio.
Our little piggy. We have 2 of those. So we got 2 hogs, and people hand those out. Just a little cool motorcycle.
Got
motorcycle
hogged.
thing.
You been hogged. And I was like, "Whoa!" I
Is
didn't
it like
even
the
feel
Jeep and the ducks or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But it's cooler. Okay.
Right?
I'd have to say.
I mean, it has sunglasses on. It is cooler.
Yep. So the dragon, good times.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Prefer Wolfpen.
Yeah. And then, so we did that impromptu podcast with Ronnie and Brianna, and that was really fun. And then we went to Fighting Town Tavern, which is
Yeah.
where our friends work, Shauna and
Yeah.
Jesse, and had lunch there and spent time with them.
Yeah. And before
Sure.
we move on from that, though, the little cigar shop that we did the podcast in,
Yes. Smoky Bear cigars.
they are so cool. Like, it is so cool that they let us come in there and just kind of take over. They even had another event that day, and
Yeah.
they were like, how can we help? What can you do? And they were just like, "No, we got it. We're good." But they were so cool. The
I
setting
know.
was great.
They moved a couch out of the way.
They moved. Yeah.
So
They were serious about helping out. But
Yeah. It was a perfect
Mhm.
atmosphere and environment, and just the hospitality was great. And I wasn't expecting that. Like,
Mhm.
because I called them up, a couple of days before and said, "Hey, we're gonna be up there. We just wanted to see if we can, have our podcast live." And they sat there and listened to it, and they had customers come in, and they had a cigar event that day because it was Labor Day weekend. So that was
they
really
even
fun.
gave us a discount on a couple of cigars.
They were so respectful.
They
too.
were.
They were very
They're awesome and truly appreciate it. So go look them up.
Yes.
If you're in Blue Ridge,
Smoky Bear Cigar and Cafe.
that's where you go.
They were great.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we actually have been trying to get caught up on some movies that we had not seen as of yet.
Yeah.
We had never seen The Meg.
I don't even know what the Meg.
The Meg is, let me tell you,
All right.
The Meg is. The Meg is about the megalodon shark. And apparently, it's been living at the bottom of the ocean under this vapor cloud. Spoiler alert for all of you who haven't seen The Meg yet.
You spoiling it?
Right. And they're these industrious, businessmen have hired these scientists, and they're going to go down there. I bet you there's something down there. There is. Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the Meg gets out and creates havoc, and Jason Statham taekwondo kicks it and does his kickboxing thing against it. And I like Jason Statham. I always have ever since Snatch. He's always been an actor that I like. But it felt weird for him to be in this movie because I've just always seen him as like but he was in it. He did a great job. I mean, for the material he had to work with. And then the Meg was semi-successul, so they did the Meg 2.
Mm-mm. Don't even waste your time. I think we watched. Did we watch the whole thing? No. We turned it on and we were like,
What is this?
no thanks.
What was wrong with it?
Everything.
So a bad monster movie that you can just kind of get through it because it's a bad monster movie.
It's the one with the sharks and the tornadoes or whatever.
Sharknado.
Sharknado. Now
Now listen.
that's bad on purpose.
Good, bad?
Yeah,
bad,
good,
good?
bad.
That's I can watch that.
Okay.
Because
I've never watched
I know it's supposed to be fake.
It's supposed to be bad.
It's supposed to be bad.
Okay.
But the Meg 2, it was the second one, so I expected the CGI in the first one wasn't bad,
Right.
but I expected the second one to be
Better.
and it just wasn't. And then on top of that, the storyline was ass. So
Yeah.
I didn't like the Meg 2. The Meg 1, if you've had a couple of beers
Yeah.
and you want something just to make fun of while you watch, The Meg's cool. The Meg 2, it just depresses you. It's
What is
not
this
worth
on Netflix? What is it on?
we watched it on Vudu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then They Cloned Tyrone was another one we
Yeah.
watched.
Now, that's a good movie. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that one.
So let me set it up. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
It is. It has John Boyega, who's
Almost unrecognizable.
correct. I was like, I asked Chuck. I was like, is that the guy from Star Wars? Because he's in the new Star Wars movies that have come up. I forget the name, like his character in there, but he shows up. He's a stormtrooper
No
at
one
first.
cares.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Jamie Foxx is in there, and then an actress named Tiana Paris.
Jamie Foxx in that movie.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. So it's John Boyega who plays a drug dealer. Jamie Foxx plays a pimp, and
course he does.
Tiana Paris plays a prostitute. Like she works for Jamie,
Okay.
and so it's just this. They come together to solve a mystery that
Like a
turns out to
Scooby-Doo.
be a government conspiracy.
No.
It's straight up like a Scooby-Doo.
It is.
It's so good, though.
It is so good.
I don't want to spoil it. Definitely go watch it. And, anytime it's just a great middle of the road movie as far as it doesn't get crazy. There's no preachy message, nothing like that. It's just a all around fun movie.
Yeah.
Be entertained.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of, I don't know, like I don't want to compare it to other movies or like give you guys any kind of preconceived whatever. I just, I know, but I like to, it's just me. I like to compare it to like, it's a mix between this and that. So I would say it's a mix between, what was the movie that you named before? Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
And what is Jordan Peele's, like his first movie?
Get Out?
Get Out. Like it's kind of like a combo of that to me.
It's really well shot. The cinematography is great. It's funny because one of my biggest complaints, I'm probably going to talk about in a second, is movies that don't make sense within their own context, right? They just don't, like, I don't understand why this person is doing this because it doesn't make sense within the, whereas that movie was like, yeah, you're watching a pimp, a drug dealer, and a prostitute uncover this incredible conspiracy. And again, Jamie Foxx alone is just, I mean, he's playing a player's ball pimp, right?
Yeah.
Just full regalia. The outfit all shiny, and he's got the pimp hand attitude. It's just, it's so good.
It is really good.
Yeah.
So that's another good one that we watched. What else did we watch?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones 4.
Oh.
What did you think of Indiana Jones 4? I haven't seen it.
I'm so disappointed.
No.
Man.
No. That makes my heart hurt.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Okay, so Harrison Ford used to be one of my top 5 actors. It was like Harrison Ford, Jack Nicholson, and all the greats. But for some reason, just the fact that he totally disowned Star Wars, like he wanted to die off from that, which I understand. It's not going great.
He wanted to die off in the original series.
Right. Like, see, but I loved him in Star Wars. Like, and I remember watching that for the first time and just falling in love with that movie. But The Fugitive, and what's the other one where they had the
Clear and Present Danger.
Clear and Present Danger.
The Jack Ryan series he was in.
Yeah. What's the other one with the Amish?
Oh, it had Kelly McGillis in it.
Oh.
It was like a murder mystery or something.
Yeah.
And it had the Amish kid in it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
It's like Silent Witness, something like that.
Yes.
Something
The
like
Witness.
that. The Witness? Oh,
I think so.
Yeah, look at that.
I think.
Ooh.
Might be right.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
And
We get it.
so like all those old movies, right? From when we were growing up. But then to see him in this, and then to see the other girl, what's her name? The actress who was in the original Indiana Jones, his love interest.
Margot Kidder.
Yes.
Rick Kidder. Kidder.
I don't know that it's Margot Kidder, but I'm going to look that up.
Superman.
Yes, producer.
There's so many. I just don't know why I don't retain. I retain names of people that I'm like working with and like all my clients and stuff. But for movies, for some reason, I just don't retain that information because there's so much
Sometimes
that
I do. It
comes out.
depends.
Karen Allen.
Karen Allen. Why was I thinking Margot
That's
Kidder?
okay. They have similar looks, honestly.
There you
Do
go.
they? All right. Yeah. So I love Indiana Jones 1. Temple of Doom is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not bad. It's a good entry in the series. And obviously, the Sean Connery one, the third one, is the best of the series. It's one of my favorite movies. Like, it's one of my favorite movies. The Alien one was weird.
Yes.
Yeah, they did some weird stuff in that.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, they introduced his kid, and the kid's swinging through the trees like Tarzan with a bunch of monkeys. It was just, what did I watch just now? Right? And then it was very strange. And then they go to this one, and okay, I'm going to spoil some things about it, right? But if you've watched the trailer, you should know this stuff, all right? It's about Archimedes' device that basically is supposedly like a time travel thing, right? So they're introducing time travel. Now, let me remind you that Indiana Jones has watched the Ark of the Covenant melt someone's face off.
Right.
He has found the Holy Grail and met like a 3,000-year-old knight.
True.
He saw aliens in the last one.
Yes.
A spaceship took off. I think that's how that worked in the last one. Okay. This one, whenever they go, well, this is about time travel, he's like, what? Time travel? That is impossible. It's ridiculous. It's just a device. Dude. You've seen some shit.
Yeah, we've seen some ridiculous.
If people walk up to Indiana Jones and go, it's time travel, he should be like, oh, fuck. We got to figure out how to stop time travel. That's not a real thing. So it didn't make sense to me that he would be so
Curmudgeon-y.
right about it. And then, I don't know, then they made some character choices with him that I didn't understand. And then the action in it, in Indiana Jones 1 and Indiana Jones 2, Indiana Jones 3, these stunts were great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how many times do I have to see the man jump from a Jeep to a motorcycle? How many times do I have to see some kid get introduced that we know is going to end up getting kidnapped, and we got to save the kid? That's part of the thing now. We got two things to do now, right? And then of course the kid is going to have some way of becoming relevant and helping save the day. It's like it's just a paint by numbers. Every turn of the movie, you're like, oh my God, I can just go watch. It was so lazy and it was so boring.
Yeah.
And it upset me. And then again, plot devices that don't make sense to me bother me. If you're a guy who's putting together a team, right? Let's say I got a mission. And within this context of the movie, I got to get a guy who's good at this, and a guy who's good at this, and a guy who's good at that, right? And then these crazy scenarios happen, but these guys are good at those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to rely on them to help me get out. That makes sense to me. When you luck up on a kid who can fly a fucking plane, just out of nowhere, this kid can figure out how to fly.
Like
He's
how?
9.
Well, and then in the mono, or like in the talk track or whatever, the script, the girl is asking like, hey, do you know how to fly that? And he's like, a whatever. And she's like, yeah. He's like, well, I've never flown one of those. And she said, well, you've never flown any plane. So why are you asking him if he could fly it then?
It's like lines like that didn't make sense. And then they specifically mentioned that he can't swim. So as soon as they mention he can't swim, you know he's going to end up
In
at
a situation.
water, right? Where he's,
No.
right? But not only,
He's a perfect swimmer.
he's an acrobat. He's literally, spoiler alert, handcuffed to a guy who outweighs him by like 4 times. And they're in a tube going through a water, and he has to shift his body and maneuver it so it goes through a grate at speed so the other guy gets caught on the other side. And while he does it, he undoes the cuffs and clicks the guy. And I'm like, this is a ninja at 9 underwater who couldn't swim
Yeah, 5 minutes ago.
2 days ago in film time.
Yeah. And then
Bothers me. Stuff like that bothers me.
but then he comes up to the,
The surface.
comes up to the surface, and then he starts saying, what is it? Like he starts giving himself lessons. Pull and stroke.
Because
or
someone
whatever.
said that to him earlier, but he got
About
it.
swimming.
Oh.
He's just, it's like a Mary Sue. You know what a Mary Sue in a movie is?
No.
So there's a concept in movies called a Mary Sue. It's when a female character shows up and doesn't have to earn anything. She's just good at something, right? She didn't have to learn how to get good at it. She just is good at it. She's just the best at it.
And
right?
that's the device that they
That's the
use
device,
to tell the
right.
story.
So, right. It's actually usually frowned upon because a lot of people like to see characters go through the process of earning whatever power they have. A
Right.
good example
More
of it,
satisfying.
right?
Mhm.
A good example of it would be like how Captain Marvel in the cinematic universe was just the best at everything right away. Right,
Yeah.
just the best at everything.
No tests.
Right away. No, just good. But that's called a Mary Sue. So he's like a Mary Sue in the story that just whatever scenario, which are these insane scenarios that this 9-year-old is put into, he got it. He got it. He walk up and do.
Yeah. I also gotta say, how can it wasn't a Vespa, but what were those little cars, like little
I don't know what they're called. They're little British cars.
like rickshaws? No, it was like
Is it a motorcycle?
Like-
it was kind of no, it wasn't a motorcycle. I think it was like a rickshaw type thing.
Yeah, I know
but
what
it was
you're
a
talking about.
motorized
I know what you're
rickshaw,
talking about.
right?
Yeah.
It was motorized. How could that keep up with anything? But yet
Yeah.
it had like turbo.
Yeah. It was doing.
It was doing 150.
It was like a stunt bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, sorry.
Yeah.
Indiana
I'm
Jones,
sorry. I really wanted to like it. I was excited about watching it.
Me too, because I mean, nostalgia from those movies growing up, but then also loving Harrison Ford and that character that he played was awesome. It's just, I think it's time.
I'll say this: if they would have just stuck with the opening sequence,
Yes.
if the whole movie would have de-aged Harrison Ford, and they have this series in the beginning where he's de-aged and he's going through a typical, although they didn't de-age his voice, which was weird. He looks young. Sounds
it
like
look
Miley
good, though?
Cyrus.
It did. It actually was kind of
Did
the
he look
best.
good?
It was enough that I would have forgiven it if the movie overall was good. But I was just go back and de-age him. Can we get his like digital stand-in at this point?
It reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy when they had, oh no, his dad, who's not married but like with Goldie Hawn.
Michael Douglas, no,
No.
Richard Gere, no.
God dang it,
Kirk Douglas.
no.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt
That's it.
Russell,
I was
that's
getting
it.
there.
Soldier.
Oh, I found one
You got it.
out of the nooks and crannies of my brain.
Think of
Hold on.
his name. I'm like, all I could think.
She got one.
Got one. Get
sound
credit
effect.
where credit's due.
Listen, there are sound effects on this
No,
video.
we're
Okay, fine. Anyway, I was gonna say they made him look so good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in that movie. So I didn't know they did the same with Harrison Ford though.
Mhm.
Yeah, they did it for like the first 15 minutes, and then it was to old drunk Harrison.
Or was he a drunk at this point?
Oh yeah, yeah. They explain what happened to his son, all that stuff, and
Oh.
blah blah blah.
Yeah. So
All right. Well, I'll go in with low expectations. How about that?
You should.
I wanted to ask you in writing Tale of the Dragon with your new bikes, were there moments that you could definitely tell that you've upgraded?
mm-hmm.
Did it feel completely different to you in comparison?
I would say yeah.
What did you notice the most of? Were you faster because it was a lighter bike?
If I wanted to go faster, yeah. Torquier bike. Lighter. Easier in the corners, but of course, no clearance. So, how about you, Chuck?
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary. It's scary.
'Cause you wanna
becau-
go fast.
because I know that I can throw this bike through that. I know I can. Like as I was getting on it, I felt slow. I felt slow on it. Like I felt like I wasn't going.
Even
very
though you were
fast.
going
and I
like-
know I was going just as fast as I have in the past. But I felt like I could push this bike
You could push
way,
it more.
way further than I was.
Yeah.
But I wanted to. I'm weird. I like to.
You're weird.
I like to get to know the bike really, really well.
Yeah.
So we're almost at 3,000 miles on them. I think that I'm probably at the point now where the next time I go, I'm probably gonna walk that bitch some.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
I am.
shout out to the guy who
Tag along.
our
on the
tag
track.
along. I forget his name. Was it Thomas?
He was a nice guy.
What
but
happened?
Yeah. No. So it was pretty interesting. We get up to Deal's Gap and we go across the street to where the dragon is, right? And the Tell the Dragon store.
Can I impersonate him?
if you want to.
All right, so when
sure.
you get there, let me do it.
All right, so we pull up, and then the sport bike pulls up kind of behind us. And we get off the bike, and then the guy starts talking to Chuck.
So he walks up, and he's like, give him some nice bikes. Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. When y'all going out? Oh, we're getting ready to head out here in a few minutes. All right, I'll tag along. And I went,
Straight up.
what? He's like, I'll ride out with y'all. I was like, all right. So now we were trying to get, it was just that I'll tag along.
Right. Like, didn't even ask.
And so I was like,
just told us what he was going to
so
do.
we were trying to get some footage while we were up there,
All
right? So I wasn't trying to be mean, but I really wanted to not have anyone behind us. So we went and got a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I browsed the store, bought some stuff, walked out.
30
Hey,
minutes
man.
later.
Hey man, y'all about ready? Oh man.
30 minutes later. But I mean, he's on an R6, right? So he's on a fast bike, and it's a sport bike.
Yeah, sport bike.
You know, and
Yeah.
I don't know how he rides. We've never met this guy before. Nice guy, but we never met him. And I typically don't really like to ride with people unless we have some kind of, rapport.
Yeah.
And
Especially
so
riding like that.
I know, and riding the tail of dragon, which I'm already kind of just in my head about because new bike on the tail. But anyways, he rode really respectfully. I was behind Chuck, and then he was behind me, and then he picked up a straggler, I guess, that was following him. But I don't like necessarily, I want to ride my ride, so I don't want to feel like I'm holding anybody up, especially on the Tail of Dragon, because you have people there was a guy who actually, he was probably 3 bikes back, and he came up, and he was just like moving in and out of double yellows and getting to the front of the pack until he finally passed Chuck. But those kind of riders, I'm just like, I try to avoid. So you never know what you're going to run into when you're up there.
Yeah,
But
we were behind like a line of cars at that point. And he was passing in the other lane on the double yellow. I saw a video the other day.
I saw it too.
Oh my God.
There were some bad accidents this past weekend.
Really?
Yeah.
There was a guy that he came out and he was trying to go around these other, and this car clipped him as he went by, right? And he rolls over and he looks down his leg, and his toes and
Mangled.
just all hanging. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Just because you couldn't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it didn't even look like he hit that bad, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it just sliced past him.
Yep.
It makes you really
So I love
aware.
those videos. You know that, right? I love
I
those
didn't know
videos.
that about you, Chuck.
Because I've said it so many times. I like to watch motorcycle accident videos because it's educational. It's also somewhat reassuring in that I'm not saying I don't do some of these things. I'm just saying that when people get injured, a lot of times they're doing something on the bike they shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to take some responsibility. Not saying they deserved it.
Yeah.
Not saying that, whatever, but on some level, if you're doing some of the things that people do on motorcycles and you get clipped, you can't really blame the car. So, like that guy, when he pulled out, went on a double yellow line to go around a truck, and a car clipped him as he went by. How can you kind of have to go, I just lost 3 of my toes. It's my fault.
It was bad. But yeah.
Anyway.
I don't want to end on that note. Like, what's something nice that we can end on?
Some happy things.
Yeah.
Well, what we got coming up, Z? We've got a few things
Oh,
coming.
that's right.
You've got 2 Lane Life next week.
Yes. Can you believe that?
No.
So, yes, we're excited about this.
Yeah.
So, our guys from Tulane are going to be on, and they're going to be on September 18th.
Yeah,
7
next Monday
p.m.
at 7 p.m.
live.
Yeah.
So that's going to be so much fun. But this weekend we are headed to Nashville for the Thundermax show. So that's going to be fun. That's at the Thundermax, their factory in White House, Tennessee. and it's from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Nashville time. So they'll have like fun stunts and cool bikes to look at, and they even have a bike show. So we're just gonna kind of burn and turn
Nice.
on Saturday for that, and then the following weekend we're all going to Tybee Island.
Tybee Island.
To celebrate a birthday. That's gonna be fun. And then the next weekend after that, our friends Lauren and Jake are coming into town. We're gonna show them the ropes. Show them.
Guess where we're going?
Tail of the Dragon.
Wolf
I don't know.
Pen- Wolf Pen
Gap. Are you? Nice.
The
Yeah,
better,
we're
the better tail of the dragon.
What was the shirt that you said that you wanted to make?
Oh, I wanted to get a shirt that says Wolf Pen Gap on the front, and on the back it says "Fuck the Dragon." No,
Okay.
but it's actually not true. I like the dragon. It's just I prefer Wolf Pen. Plus, you can get Wolf Pen in a day. Like if I go up there, we can ride it.
Couple hours.
We can ride it 4 or 5 times and be back here by 2:00.
Yeah.
Anyways. All right, but yeah, Sharon, why don't you put out there some of the other things that you do? You have other shows and
Yeah, you're cheating on us with other podcasts. So.
apparently some
maybe vice-
slick-looking dude.
Oh gosh.
She brings a guy to a ride and is like, oh, by the way, this is my other podcast.
Yeah, so it's just all right. So I do a Business Radio X podcast every Friday at 3:00. I interview local business owners about the ups and downs of their industry, and you all have been on the show because you are in staffing and business, and it was just kind of a perfect fit. Actually, I'd love to have you come back because it's been almost a year,
Okay.
and it'd be interesting to see how you can talk about the end of the pandemic and how that's affected your industry now, and sort of some of the changes you're seeing and the trends you're seeing. Because I did that recently with one of our other writers, Tracy and her husband, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own business, Ants Construction, and they came on the show a year ago as they were beginning, like the very beginning, maybe a couple months into their business, and then came back again a year later to talk about what they learned. And it was really interesting to compare and contrast in some of the ways that they've grown and learned and things they wish they knew before. So I loved it. Plus, it's interesting to me to see people's dreams, how they change and pivot and adjust in business. And I'm such a champion for people who want to live their dreams. So that's like
awesome.
one of the best things that I do is this interview show. And then I also do voiceover work. And then tomorrow I'm going to be at the FinTech Expo that's in the Georgia World Congress Center interviewing people. That'll be really fun. And then, so I've been working on a podcast with a friend of mine, Presley Gray, and it's called No One Wants to Talk About That. And we haven't really published anything yet. We're still working on it, but that's been really fun. So it's fascinating to me how I've gotten onto like some different tracks and different parts of my life that I really enjoy. And I had no idea how popular podcasts really could be and how successful people can be and impactful. And so it's been great. But I will say that Mondays with you all is something I look forward to every week. So, and I appreciate you being so kind and patient to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like Mondays because, Mondays are one of those days that it's like everybody has a case of the Mondays because it's like back to work, back to reality for a lot of us. And I think it really kind of helps get my week started. And even though this is a fun thing to do, it is still something that's kind of work too, right? So you have to be able to take time to commit to this on a weekly basis, and Monday just happens to be like the day that we can do that. So I love it.
It
It's really
follows
fun.
a weekend that you usually have had some really great riding.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's nice to just talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So real quick, we've got the Dragon video coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Then I've been working on the Sturgis content. We shot so much footage in Sturgis. It's it's so much to put together. I'm probably going to have to break it up into like 2 or 3 parts in order because I want to make sure that because we've got needles and
like,
all these different roads on there.
All the
I don't know how you do it.
moments.
Even just this past ride that we did with Wolf Pen, having all those hours of footage to kind of cherry pick the shots that you want. I mean, if you've got tons and tons of that from Sturgis. I can't imagine.
Yeah, and the Sturgis one's also a little bit more involved too, because it's not just riding. There's a lot of events that we attended. You know, scenes where we were all without all the folks that we were in Sturgis with partying or dancing in the garage late at night. You know,
Yeah.
I've got all that video that I'm trying to put together.
How do you do it, Chuck?
I have a process, so I basically line everything out based on the camera angle, and then I look for specific time codes in each one and cut it down. And
It takes a lot of time to do that, though.
it does. That's why it takes so long, because I have a professional job. I also am the digital content creator for this young lady over here. So I'm constantly, pulling video.
And you do a podcast for your
I do a
business as
professional-
well, which is great. I've seen it on LinkedIn posted,
you.
and I've listened to it, and you're really great at it.
Yep. And then, I actually have a job with some hefty responsibilities.
So just wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah,
I think we do this to ourselves, though.
We do.
We love to stay busy.
Even going all the way back to when I first started in staffing, before I got too busy, because when at some point in staffing you get to where you're making your bread and earning your name, it's a 18-hour a day, sometimes 24-hour a day job, weekends, and you don't have time to do anything else, especially on the sales side. Once you get past that and you get into management, some of your nights tend to open up a little bit more, so you have time to do some of the stuff. But that could change. I mean, I could be called at any time to go take care of anything, to deal with anything. Anyways, my point is, when I first started out in staffing, I was bored at night, so that's how I got into doing radio. I ended up taking an overnight radio job that would fill my evenings up, because I had to have something to do.
Yeah.
And playing video games wasn't getting it. So, anyways. All right. We'll end on that.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see some of you at the Thundermax event on September 16th in White House, Tennessee. And we'll see you guys next Monday with Two-Lane Life.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. Shiny side up. Peace.
Bye, guys.